What's up, everybody? Welcome to the second half of June. We've got 46 games on tap, with at least 4 coming to Game Pass, 3 PC demos, 1 Switch demo, and 3 games entering early access. There's tons coming in this latter half of the month, so I'm going to dive right in just a moment. First though, if you could head on over to Twitter and follow the newly created Future Dubs account, you'll be able to stay even more up to date on game releases. Also, please don't forget to hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. Let's go! Redout 2 is a fast-paced anti-gravity racing game. This is the sequel to the first game, which came out back in 2016. This follow-up promises to be bigger and faster with more tracks than ever before. Aside from driving as fast as possible, players can also strafe, tilt, and boost their customizable hover ship through a single-player campaign or competitive online multiplayer featuring up to 12 players. Now, I like my racing games grounded in a bit more realism than this, but blasting through 36 topsy-turvy tracks at over 600 miles an hour seems pretty alright. Redout 2 comes to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, Switch, and PC on June 16th. Horgihugh and Friends is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up featuring 16-bit graphics and adorable characters. A past war has led the nations of the world to dismantle their weapons, which seems like a great idea until the alien Gozerian race attacks. Now, 2 retired pilots must use their vintage fighter planes as the only means to fight back the alien threat. The game features 6 stages, 13 boss battles, 2 difficulty levels, and a unique power-up system. The game has a pretty emotional real-life origin story revolving around a dog that was abandoned after the 2011 Tohoku earthquake in Japan, and it serves as a bit of an homage to him. Horgihugh and Friends comes exclusively to the Nintendo Switch on June 16th. This game was originally featured in the April video, but was delayed to June. Terran Command mixes classical real-time mechanics, tower defense, and tactical deployment of your units. Your team is dropped right in the heart of a human colony overrun by arachnids. Set up your soldiers in strategic locations, build defense emplacements, and use the terrain to quell the onslaught brought on by the arachnid force. Terran Command features an interesting blend of genres that forces the player to focus more on the action and less on strategy. Now, strategy still plays a role, but it comes off differently than other slower-paced tactical games. Starship Troopers Terran Command comes to PC on June 16th. In this 1-to-4 player side-scrolling platformer brawler, you'll experience fast-paced combat as you try to protect humanity against the hordes of chaos. Skeleton Crew offers 12 playable characters to recruit and upgrade, and 17 handcrafted non-linear levels to explore across 3 vast regions. The action in this game looks frantic, to say the least. I think the game has a great art style, and if you have any affinity for multiplayer games, especially something along the lines of Castle Crashers, then this game might be right up your alley. Skeleton Crew comes to the PC on June 16th. Overlord is a light novel series that tells the story of a future where a MMORPG called Yggdrasil has been released. In this Metroidvania, you control Clementine, an antagonist from the very early parts of the Overlord overarching story. You'll need to navigate Clementine through the Great Tomb of Nazarick to find her weapons and powers. I'm completely unfamiliar with the source material, but Metroidvanias have become one of my favorite genres in gaming, and after looking a little bit more into Overlord, I'm considering diving into the anime to learn more. Overlord Escape from Nazarick releases on PC on June 16th. Based on the children's cartoon, Zorro, the Chronicles allows you to play as Zorro or his sister Inez. The game features bloodless action combat and exciting exploration. I personally had no idea that Zorro was still around in any capacity, so I was surprised to see this release coming up. After learning more about the game, I realized that it is trying to fit into a space that used to be oversaturated with games a few generations back, but with the maturation of games, it's much more open now. The family-friendly action-adventure space. The show is intended for 6 to 12-year-olds, and this looks like a game that will cater nicely to that group as well. Zorro: The Chronicles releases on the PlayStations, the Xboxes, Switch, and PC on June 16th. You died, welcome to heaven. Neon White is a single-player speedrunning FPS where you can sacrifice your guns for godlike parkour moves. You play as Neon White, an assassin handpicked from hell to compete with other demon slayers for a chance to live permanently in heaven. Only the fastest slayer can stay. This game looks fast-paced, and admittedly my ears perk up whenever card mechanics are mentioned these days. It's a little strange to me that such a fast-paced game would rely on cards, but my guess is that my concerns will likely end up being unfounded. Neon White comes to Switch and PC on June 16th. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge features modernized gameplay rooted in timeless classic brawling mechanics. Bash your way through gorgeous pixel art environments and slay tons of hellacious enemies with your favorite turtle, each with his own skills and moves, making each run unique. I love everything I've seen of this game. I grew up on the Ninja Turtles, TV shows, movies, games, you name it. Sadly, my gaming tastes have changed to the point where I simply cannot enjoy a beat-em-up, but I'm so into the look of this game I might play it anyways, especially since it's coming to Game Pass. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge comes to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, Switch, and PC on June 16th. Final Vendetta is a hard-hitting, action-packed beat-em-up for 1 or 2 players in the vein of classic arcade titles. Featuring stunning pixel art and a thumping soundtrack, Final Vendetta looks like it does an amazing job of capturing the essence of the old beat-em-ups like Streets of Rage and Final Fight. As I said mere moments ago, beat-em-ups don't resonate with me now the way they used to, but those that love retro gaming might have a couple new games to sink their teeth into. You may have seen this game in the May video, but a delay means it's coming to PlayStations and Xboxes, Switch, and PC on June 17th. Combining escape room gameplay and action, Oxide Room 104 is a bone-chilling, single-player body horror game set inside an old motel. Abducted, at the mercy of a ruthless scientist, and stalked by a horrible creature, you must try to escape using common sense, just as you would in real life. Oof, this game do be disturbing. From the trailer, I get immersive Saw meets Silent Hill vibes. The gameplay seems to be more reminiscent of a point-and-click adventure game, but damn, definitely not for the kiddos. Oxide Room 104 comes to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, Switch, and PC on June 17th. You play Agent Frank Morgan, who is tasked with investigating the disappearance of a teenage girl who was abducted during a live internet broadcast. Mixing investigations, puzzles, and combat, this first-person survival horror game will present multiple viewpoints as you try to find the missing teen. This game reminds me of a cartoonified version of the 360 game Condemned, the difference being that the art style is one that doesn't exactly strike fear into my heart. There seem to be elements of the supernatural present, but the cop with the dark past angle is what intrigues me the most here. Broken Mind comes to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and Switch on June 21st. Coming out of early access on the 21st, Good Company is an in-depth management sim about building a bustling tech corporation. Start in your garage and expand to eventually create a massive corporation. I am very much into the idea of a game like this, and I think it's one that could be a good time, but sim games always end up becoming more work than fun for me. It looks like there are several tools to help automate processes to keep the good times rolling though, and who doesn't love rags to riches progression? Good Company enters 1.0 on June 21st. Firegirl is a roguelite firefighting platformer set in a fantasy world of living fire monsters. Join Firegirl as she takes over and brings the fire brigade back to glory. Rescue survivors, fly through crumbling buildings, and uncover the mystery behind the fire monster attacks. The premise behind Firegirl is incredibly unique, and that concept is absolutely matched by its gorgeous art style. Firegirl Hack and Splash Rescue DX comes to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, Switch, and PC on June 22nd. All 4 entries in the Sorcery collection are coming to consoles as one complete package. You play the role of a lone adventurer who must recover the Crown of Kings using only your sword, your spellbook, and your instincts on which path to take. If you are looking for a narrative-driven adventure game, this one seems to offer up tons of replayability as you weave your way across the lands choosing your preferred route. Steve Jackson's Sorcery comes to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch on June 23rd. Bringing together Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2, Sonic 3, Sonic & Knuckles, and Sonic CD, this collection features remastered visuals, added features, and new content and modes. The collection allows players to play the original versions as they were originally intended should they choose, but also offers Anniversary Mode, missions, medallions, and a museum. This seems like a great way to relive the Sega classics, and for the purists out there, having the original versions available gives players the ability to choose the way they'd like to experience the games. Sonic Origins comes to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, Switch, and PC on June 23rd. Play as Ruggnar, a dwarf who left his home city to find fortune. Unfortunately, the dungeons, although abandoned, are full of traps and puzzles. Axes, spikes, arrows, and even water. Nothing will be spared for our poor Ruggnar. Here we have a platformer through and through. There are no enemies to speak of, but it looks like you'll need some quick reflexes and a bit of ingenuity to thoroughly explore the dungeons you're wandering in. Ruggnar comes to PC on June 23rd. Gordian Quest is an epic deck-building RPG inspired by old-school classics like Ultima and D&D, using modern gaming concepts like roguelite elements and turn-based strategic combat. You will form parties of heroes whom you will have to lead and manage on grueling missions. Card games continue to pop up constantly, and I'm in no way disappointed by that. This game looks to be a solid addition to the roguelike deck-building RPG genre, and after being in early access for the last couple years, it should come out nice and polished. Gordian Quest comes to PC on June 11th. This collection features these 10 classic Capcom fighting games: Darkstalkers, Night Warriors, Vampire Savior, Vampire Hunter 2, Vampire Savior 2, Red Earth, which, side note, will be available on home consoles for the very first time, Cyberbots, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Hyper Street Fighter 2, and Super Gem Fighter Minimix. I'm not a fan of fighting games, but I know plenty of people who are. I imagine this collection is one that they are very eager to get their hands on. Capcom Fighting Collection comes to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on June 24th. Pocky and Rocky Reshrined is the third entry in the long-running video game series. Pocky and Rocky is a shoot-'em-up series where you control a young shrine maiden, Pocky, and her raccoon companion, Rocky. This game touts a retro 16-bit art style and sound, has 5 playable characters, 2-player co-op, and more. This is a series I've always been aware of, but never had any idea what it actually was. In fact, in researching this, if you would have told me a shoot-'em-up, I would have said, nuh-uh. Now, while it is the third entry in the series, it is the first release in 28 years, so it'll be interesting to see how it's received. Pocky and Rocky Reshrined comes to PS4 and Switch on June 24th. Six years ago, the right half of a corpse was discovered. The left half was never found. Until now, completely fresh and with no signs of decay. Now, Special Agents Mizuki and Ryuki, along with their AI partners Aiba and Tama, are tasked to solve the bizarre half-body serial killings while unveiling the mysterious plot known only as the nirvanA Initiative. This game looks like a trip based on the trailer. I've never played the original AI Somnium Files game, but this sequel makes me think that checking out the first game may be in my best interest. AI, the Somnium Files, nirvanA Initiative comes to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on June 24th. Step into the shoes of Shez as they join Edelgard, Dimitri, Claude, and other Fire Emblem Three Houses characters and fight for the future of Fodlan. Align with a leader to build and command an army in strategic 1 versus 1,000 style battles. The house you choose will bring you through one of 3 compelling stories, each with a different outcome. Musou games, much like beat-em-ups, are a type of game that I simply have no interest in. If I recall though, the last FE Warriors game was well liked, so fans of both FE and Musou games should be in for a treat when Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes comes to Nintendo Switch on June 24th. Race your way to victory on bikes, ATVs, and UTVs in MX vs ATV Legends. Featuring new, massive, open environments plus a career mode that captures the risks and rewards of being a world-famous professional rider. While I'm a big racing fan, my heart belongs to cars and trucks versus motorcycles and ATVs. I'm curious though if quote-unquote massive open environments means that you have the ability to traverse the world as you see fit between races. That would definitely move the needle for me. MX vs ATV Legends comes to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC on June 28th. An amateur journalist, Roberto Liete Lopez, travels to Santa Catarina following a tip from his friend. He is headed to the St. Dinfna Hotel where, according to rumors, there have been mysterious disappearances and evidence of paranormal activity. This game has some Outlast in it from what I can see from the trailers, and Outlast scared the Jesus out of me. Now, this game does seem to be introducing multiple timelines though, which in my experience is always risky. We'll see how it works out when Fobia, St. Dinfna Hotel comes to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC on June 28th. You can also check out the Steam demo right now. 15 years after the Heiji Rebellion, the Heike clan has reached the height of its power while the Genji clan remains devastated by defeat. Hidden deep within the mountains of Kurama lives Shinao, the youngest surviving male heir to the Genji name. However, Shinao harbors a deep secret known by very few. The youngest heir to the Genji name is no man. What we have here is a visual novel that I can't really interject much more thought into. So yep, Birushana, Rising Flower of Genpei comes to the Nintendo Switch on June 28th. Zed is a boastful zombie who wallows on the lowest rung of the Netherworld ladder alongside his sister, Bieko. When a god of destruction threatens their way of unlife, Zed must harness his unique ability of super reincarnation to stand against the approaching menace. I've tried a couple times to get into the Disgaea series, and while it's never worked out for me, there's a reason 6 of these games exist. This is a wildly popular strategy RPG franchise that may surprise you. Disgaea 6 Complete comes to the PlayStations and PC on June 28th. Action fighting at its extreme. Enter the new beat-em-up world of Arad as your favorite character from the beloved Dungeon and Fighter franchise. One of the most popular and widely played RPGs in the world, Dungeon and Fighter is now back as a 2.5D action fighting game. I can't be the only person that thought DNF meant did not finish. I know I'm not big into fighting games, but as an RPG fan, I've never heard of Dungeon and Fighter, nor its claim to be one of the most popular and widely played RPGs in the world. Am I in the wrong line of work? DNF Duel comes to the PlayStations and PC on June 28th. Labeled as a unique strategy game made by history buffs for history buffs, wargame enthusiasts, and casual players alike, Fire and Maneuver comes to PC Early Access on June 15th. Based on the hit board game Nemesis, the digital version puts you on an abandoned spaceship where you and your crew are not alone. Figure out if your crew is worth saving or if your own hide is all that matters when Nemesis Distress hits PC Early Access on June 15th. In Cloud Gardens, the player overgrows lo-fi scenes of urban decay and manufactured landscapes. Create small dioramas, unique depending on where you plant your seeds. Already out on PC and Xbox, Cloud Gardens comes to Switch on May 12th. Experience the fourth game in the series, A Thief's End, and the spin-off, Lost Legacy, when Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection comes to PC on June 20th. This top-down roguelike turn-based deck builder has you guiding summoners through treacherous paths to find hidden secrets and powerful cards. Summoner's Fate enters early access on June 20th. 2 weeks after the PC release of the expansion, High Isle makes its way to the PlayStations and Xboxes on June 21st. Shadowrun Returns, Shadowrun Dragonfall Director's Cut, and Shadowrun Hong Kong Extended Edition have been updated, upscaled, and optimized for the PlayStations, Xboxes, and the Switch. Check them out on June 21st. They're also coming to Game Pass. This physicsy destruction racer and one of my personal favorite racing games ever is coming to the Switch on June 21st. The online party game will be available for free with crossplay and cross-progression on June 21st when it lands on the Switch, the Xboxes, and the Epic Game Store. The Xbox version was released earlier this month, and now the adorable Nummels are making their way to PC. Guide them to safety on June 21st. The gothic horror-themed side-scrolling shoot-'em-up tandem is coming to the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4 on June 23rd. Released on Switch earlier this year, this multiplayer jigsaw puzzle game set in the Hatsune Miku universe comes to Xbox One and PC on June 23rd. You're the last astronaut and humanity's last hope. Find out what happened to the prior crew when Deliver Us the Moon comes to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles on June 23rd. Try to escape a world where regrets don't exist because every second guess is made true. This school-centric RPG arrives on PC on June 23rd. This visual novel comes to Xbox One on June 24th and tells the story of a young man whose grandmother transforms into a cute girl. I have no idea where it goes from there, so A Winter's Daydream comes to Xbox One on June 24th. Humanity's last hope for survival rests on your journey deep into the cradle of Enoch's civilization. World Slayer is the first expansion for 2021's Outriders and lands on June 30th. Brothers Cuphead and Mugman are joined by the clever, adventurous Miss Chalice for a rollicking adventure on a previously undiscovered Inkwell Isle. Check it out when this long-awaited DLC lands on June 30th. Featuring improved gameplay and additions to combat alongside unique new monsters and hunting locales, Sunbreak promises to be a sizable expansion coming to Monster Hunter Rise on Switch and PC on June 30th. The Rabbids are back with a new party game that takes multiplayer mayhem to mythical levels for the whole family. Join them on a hilarious journey full of chaos and colorful characters across 50 ridiculously fun minigames. There doesn't seem to be an English trailer for this game yet, so while it's a new release, that's the reason it's in this quick hits section. And that's it for June. All said and done, we showed off almost 80 games between Part 1 and Part 2 for June. Hopefully you found something in that massive list to play, and even more so, I hope I showed you something you didn't know about. I try to make these videos as accurate as possible, but release dates do move quite a bit, so do yourself a favor. Go follow Future Dubs on Twitter. That account updates that day's releases every morning around 8 a.m. If any surprises come up after the video's been published, it's a great way to catch the games that may have slipped through the cracks. As always, check the description below to find me on all the social medias, like, subscribe, and comment on the video, and if you choose Epic Games as your storefront to purchase any of these games, go ahead and use creator code CW719 at checkout. Finally, I'd love to see you live. Head on over to my Twitch channel where I am live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. For now, though, I'm going to nestle in and start hammering out the future dub for the first half of July. Bye, everybody.